I believe I just found a insider critique from the Anunnaki that was in one of the books of a discarded encyclopedia that I found on the street while it was raining and was able to find a way to transport back. And there's this article. There's a cutout of the article that was just in the book. And I didn't find what I was looking for because, you're never ever going to acknowledge that. Or are you? But I found this. Sunday, January 16th, 1994. Man, I only wish I had gotten this in 1994 before they had committed to that 25-year fucking deal. Sam wasn't best example of a husband. By Kent Biffles Texana. Apparently that's his column. Arlington. Our topics, women and the president. We're talking about women and President Sam Houston. Who else? General Houston was twice president of the Texas Republic, 1836 to 38 and 1842 to 44. The issue's timely because of Tom Schieffer's problem in naming the ballpark in Arlington's parking lots in Arlington. I'll explain. The Rangers Baseball Club president, a history fan, said last week he wanted to name the 9 lots for Texas heroes. The Davy Crockett parking lot, the Sam Houston parking lot, the Relenzo de Zavala parking lot, and like that. Upshot was a feminine grumble that all his nominees for fender-bending glory were unbendingly of one gender. Mr. Schieffer rightly explained that heroes of the Texas Revolution tended to be men. Historical and political correctness don't always frequent the same ballpark. In a nanosecond, I'd solved his dilemma. Try the Mrs. Davy Crockett parking lot, the Mrs. Sam Houston parking lot, the Mrs. Lorenzo de Zavala parking lot. In another nanosecond, I decided maybe not. A background check of the greatest Texas heroes doesn't turn up the greatest Texas husbands. Take Colonel William B. Travis, commander of the Alamo. When he rode off to Texas from South Carolina, the girl he left behind was his child bride. He left her for good with one tot on her knee and another on the way. Mrs. Schieffer's list was topped by Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas. Mr. Austin was never married. Yes, the father of Texas was a bachelor. Please, let's keep this matter in the family. We've already supplied those north of the Red River with cause for merriment enough. Returning to the key issue, you may ask why anyone would want her or his name on a parking lot. I'll answer that with a question. Why do doctors want the most scabrous diseases named after them? They just do. Underscoring the name of his team, Mr. Schieffer could borrow names from real frontier Texas Rangers. Tom Burks at the Texas Rangers Museum in Waco could nominate about 90. But they'll be men. In contrast, he could name the wide-open parking spaces for old female Texas outlaws. It's a natural. But there weren't enough infamous criminals of that particular sex for 9 nominations. Flipping through old pictures reminds me how few early Texas women wore their baseball caps backwards. Early Texas had a shortage of women of any kind. Historians knit brows over the fiery Colonel Travis's semi-private claim that he was successful with more than 50 pre-Republic belles, but his abacus got overstimulated. Whatever surefire are women's names that echo connections with the heroic Houston, Sam Houston's women could fill a parking lot. Biographer Marshall Day Brule found his early reputation was for drinking, carousing, and promiscuity. But he left no kiss-and-tell diary like Colonel Travis. Sam Houston had 3 wives, and that's 3 parking lots. The exchange of vows by Tennessee Governor Sam Houston and Eliza Allen in 1829 was the climax of a dashing 35-year-old bachelor's courtship of a 20-year-old beauty. Without getting into names, see Raven's Bride by Elizabeth Crook. We'll just note that they slept apart on their wedding night and things went downhill from there. Separated forever in a matter of days, their marriage lingered in a legal sense until their 1837 divorce. Scandal or hurt caused the governor to light out for Indian country. There he took a Cherokee bride, Tiana Rogers. The late humorist Will Rogers was her nephew 3 generations removed. She was 30, widow of a Cherokee killed by an Osage, when she was married in 1830 to the former Tennessee governor, known thereabouts as Big Drunk. He literally gave her the wigwam and said goodbye in 1832 before moving on to the Mexican sub-province of Texas, his saddlebags heavy with dreams of empire. Her gravestone's seen at the Fort Gibson National Cemetery in Oklahoma, sacred to the memory of Tahelina, Tiana or Diana, Cherokee wife of General Sam Houston, liberator of Texas, died at Wilson's Rock, Cherokee Nation in the year 1838. The wife who deserves her name on the whole nine lots was Margaret Leah Houston, a pretty poet from Alabama who was wed to the general in 1840. She was 31. He was 37. He was 57. She dried him out and cleaned up his act. And in his remaining years, she gave the hero of San Jacinto 8 children. She was killed by yellow fever in 1867, outliving the general by 4 years. Much earlier, in 1824, Congressman Sam Houston of Tennessee had eyes for vivacious Peggy O'Neill, a cocktail waitress at her dad's sociable tavern in Washington, D.C. In his biography, John Hoyt Williams says the congressman was infatuated. The late Sam Houston State University historian Martha Ann Turner wrote, "Tradition has it that one of the few misrepresentations of truth Houston ever made to his beloved patron, President Andrew Jackson, concerned a rendezvous with Peggy when Jackson inadvertently saw Houston trying to slip out of her apartment by stealth. Peggy O'Neill was bad news for any politico. Her skirts trailed lurid scandals, too many to mention here, but she and the general were friends for life. He was taken with Mary Park Custis, granddaughter of Martha Washington, but he was far too uncivilized for her family's taste. She finally married Robert E. Lee." Historian Williams reports on a mysterious Miss M from South Carolina who almost became Mrs. Houston. In 1825, the congressman wrote a friend, "I do not know yet the sweets of matrimony, but in March or April next I will." He didn't. After the Battle of San Jacinto in 1836, the general sent a laurel wreath and a note announcing the victory of the fetching Anna Raquette of Nacogdoches, for whom he pined. He wrote so much poetry for her that he almost became good at it. Delivery boy for several of his love messages to Miss Raquette was Dr. Robert Urian. She married him. Should we mention Pamela Mann? The general borrowed her oxen to haul his 2 cannons in 1836. He let her believe his army was bound for her destination, Nacogdoches. When he veered from the Nacogdoches road, she cussed him out, asserting, "I don't give a damn for your cannon, I want my oxen." She got them, you bet, and his troops had to drag and push the twin sisters to glory at San Jacinto. Later, Sam and Pamela were friendly in Houston City, where he presided and she ran a disorderly sort of boarding house. In Houston City in 1838 was a flirtatious little actress called the Widow Barker. She was so called because her actor husband had recently toasted her with a fatal glass of laudanum. They had 3 kids. I don't know details, but the President of the Republic was so touched or whatever that he installed the survivors in the executive mansion. He moved out. She later became a bigamist. We can't overlook the legendary Yellow Rose of Texas, Emily Morgan, or West or something. Emily was the gorgeous slave girl who gave her all for Texas, distracting General Santa Anna in his candy-striped tent while the Texans made their move at San Jacinto. Respectable historians dismissed the yarn, but in the name of Pete, we only want her name for a lousy parking lot. Besides the fabulous Emily, a number of African Texians made documented contributions to Texas independence. Bill and Marjorie Walraven, in their book on early Texas, The Magnificent Barbarians, recognized the revolutionary efforts of Sam McCullough, Hendrick Arnold, Greenberry Logan, many others. But they're all men.